Three things: discovery, choice, and access. So on the discovery side, people have to find books, and the Google Books program has proven time and again that if you make your books available for search, the backlist and the torso, people will find these books and buy them in print form. And you can imagine that as you reduce the friction of that backlist torso sale, more books will be sold when people can find the book they want and immediately access it. In addition to ongoing sales of frontlist titles that are already being heavily promoted throughout the market. Choice. So if consumers have choice, they're going to, again, have less friction in their decision to purchase an ebook, and they'll be able to buy an ebook wherever they find it, rather than thinking, will this ebook work with my widget? Will this ebook last forever? Will this ebook be a dead end? And then access. And I think storage in the cloud answers a lot of these questions. So turning ebooks into software that can work on general purpose computing devices, mobile devices, and having ultimately the bits stored in the cloud backed up by providers that users trust. And we'll speak more to that. So where will Google Editions be sold? And this is where Google does want to provide Google Editions in the cloud, but we don't just want to stand up our own direct ebook platform to compete with the other direct ebook platforms. We want to empower booksellers and devices to be able to compete in this market where any buyer can buy a book from any retailer and read it on any device. And so Google Editions will be sold both at Google and through our retail partners. And we showed you earlier our retail partners who we work with for preview, helping them sell print books. And the majority of them are very interested in working with us as they move to digital books. And not that many people are, in the ebook space are thinking about how to enable booksellers to continue doing what they do well, which is sell a lot of books. And so once these editions have been sold, whether at Google or through our retail partners, they'll be readable across all of the devices that we support. So Google is delivering a platform for ebooks, Google Editions, with APIs for reseller partners and APIs for device partners, so that each can offer their users, their readers, seamless experiences. So multiple purchase locations. And on the left, you'll see Google, so that search experience which I showed earlier. On the right, as an example, Powell's Books, an independent bookseller. And so at Google, the user finds a book that they want. They read it. They become engaged. They want to purchase it. And you'll see there's now a Buy Book button, so they can immediately purchase access to this book in their browser. Alternatively, they're at their favorite bookseller, and they find a book that they're interested in, and they add it to the cart, and they're able to purchase entirely through this bookseller's purchase experience, separate from Google. But they're buying that same book, and it's backed up by Google, so they don't have to worry about whether the file that they bought from this reseller will work on their devices. They know that this is a Google edition. So on the Google side, they'll purchase through checkout. On the partner side, they purchase through the partner's own payment system. So purchase via Google, broad network of resellers. They'll be able to read these books on smartphone apps, on their e-reader devices. They'll be able to buy ebook and print bundles. So we think that 10% of the book market being ebooks at the end of this year is great. That means that 90% of the market is not reading ebooks. And that's an opportunity. And we think about how to engage with those readers who ultimately will be reading ebooks one day, just not yet. And as we make platforms that enable booksellers to compete, well, booksellers have a unique advantage in that they actually have readers walking into their stores all around the world and finding books that they want to read. And we think that a bundle can be very interesting in that they can buy the print book and put their toe into the water on the digital side and see if they're interested. So powered by Google Editions, these can be seamless experiences everywhere. So you've spoken to search and discovery, preview, and purchasing. Well, what will reading look like for Google Editions? After purchase, whether a buyer has bought from Google or from a reseller partner or on a device, this customer's Google Edition lives in their online bookshelf. So anywhere that they sign in with their Google account, they're able to read their Google Books. Or if they sign in with their reseller partner account, they're able to read Google Books through that resale partner's interface. They're synced across all retailers. So buying a book at Powell's means that that book is also available when you go to Google Books or when you go to another device manufacturer who's also part of the Google Books platform. So you don't wind up with books lost or stuck where you've purchased them. They follow you, the user. So the user gets an ever-present library on the laptop, on their tablet, on their smartphone, anytime, anywhere. They can sign in with their Google account and read that book. So here's a mock-up of what our web reader might look like. So we will be delivering a web reader, a fantastic reading experience in your web browser anywhere you log in. And this can present flowing text, which you see here, so images in line with the content. This is actually showing what a sample might look like. So a user is engaging with the content. Do I want to buy this? They do. They click the Buy Google Edition button right up at the top. And what you can see is that the user, just like in an ebook reader application, they can change the font size, the layouts, etc. Make this really a reading experience that they want to dive into and read long-form content in. Full color, of course. We also decided to stick with the original page book numbers, just a fun aside. Our engineers and our user researchers decided that trying to memorize very long strings of digits weren't very useful. And it's also fun because Google Books is based upon the premise of the print content in that our page numbers will map to the actual printed book. And sometimes our students like this quite a bit when they're engaging with a book that they actually have a printed version of and they're searching through it and want to find a passage and it will match. A fun little detail. So the Google Editions experience will be optimized for all devices. So we have the original book page images. Again, they're full color. We can add sidebars. Other high complex items can actually be presented quite well. If the user chooses, they can see the original page images as shown here. So this book would be very hard to render as an EPUB. Well, we'll let a user read it as effectively an EPUB equivalent when they're on a smaller device, so it looks good on their screen. But if they're on a web reader or a larger tablet, they'll be able to see the original book content in all of its glory. So we can take a publisher's EPUB, we can take a publisher's PDF, we can take a publisher's print book and turn that into a fantastic digital object. Because of our Google Books expertise, we're able to do quite a lot of work to make nice digital objects out of books, kind of regardless of how they come to us. Another common question that I get when I talk with publishers is, well, what about security? A web reader is something new and different. I think people understand how the e-ink device security works and iPhones. But let's talk a little bit about this. So a user buys Freedom, as Oprah just told us all to do in the US, if you are watching, a popular book. Well, when we're sending that book down to the user in their web reader, we protect it when it's in flight, so the book bits are encrypted. And we're not sending full files down because when they're reading in a web reader, it's actually a streaming experience. So we send little pieces of content, they're encrypted, and they're encrypted uniquely, so it's very hard to break. And because it is in the web, to the extent that it does get broken, every time somebody comes to books.google.com, we can send them a new version of the website that won't be breakable if the old version was. So we're able to stay quite ahead of the hackers, and Google Books has deep expertise at this because even with the preview program, there are nefarious folks trying to do bad things with our content, and we've got years and years of experience of not allowing that. But in addition to protecting the content as we send it down to them, we can also do things like look and see what's actually happening in an account. So a couple of different accesses in a similar location from a varied set of devices, well, that seems okay. A bunch of accesses all over the world, that's probably an abusive account, and we can shut that down and tell the people, you're accessing this book in too many places, and just control the amount of access without shutting the account down is the wrong